Hatching your own quail chicks is one of the most rewarding parts of keeping quail, and to help make your next hatch a success, I'll show you exactly how to incubate quail eggs the right way. First on the agenda to hatching healthy quail chicks is collecting and storing the hatching eggs. These can be bought from a local breeder or collected from your own flock of quails. Once you have enough eggs, it's time to set up the incubator. There are tons of different models, and it is best to always also check the operating instructions of your exact incubator, and so I will just explain the basics of a forced incubator. First step is to make sure the incubator is clean. Mine was already cleaned before and just collected some dust since the last hatch, so I simply wiped it down with a paper towel. If you haven't cleaned the incubator at all yet, you should also make sure to disinfect it, so no germs from previous hatches can cause problems. This incubator turns the eggs automatically. With these types of incubators, you will get some form of a turning tray where you put the eggs inside. The ones I have are originally for chicken eggs, but I use them for quails as well, and in my opinion it isn't really necessary to buy a smaller dedicated quail egg tray. And automatic incubators have a small motor that turns the eggs in the interval that you can actually choose yourself. Without automatic turning, you will have to do it by hand. This is common in very small incubators, and they usually don't have any trays either, so the eggs are just placed on the ground and then you can turn them there. The next important part is the humidity. There are incubators that control this automatically as well. Mine requires me to regulate the humidity by adjusting this component, which lets more or less air inside. I can also vary by how much water I fill in the incubator. Throughout the incubation, I refill water through this tiny hole so that this water chamber is filled. The humidity then ranges somewhere around 60%. If I need it higher for the hatch, I have to lift the lid and fill the second chamber as well. The tiny hole for refilling is just essential for the first 3 days, as you must not lift the lid at this stage to not disrupt the microclimate inside for the chicks to be able to develop properly. After that, you can also shortly lift the lid to refill or to candle the eggs. When setting up your brooder, make sure to choose a place that is very steady and doesn't get shaken by people walking by, a running washing machine, playing children, or anything like that. The temperature should be steady as well, and so direct sunlight should be avoided so that it is easier for the incubator to have a steady temperature. Once everything is set up, it's time to carefully put the eggs in the trays. If you are using wider trays like me, I recommend fully stocking them so the eggs aren't rolling around when they are turned. In this case, the pointed end should be at the bottom, just like when you're storing the eggs. Otherwise, they can also just simply lay on the side. When it comes to setting the temperature, I can't give you an exact number as it depends on the specific incubator. Usually quails need around 37.6 to 37.8 degrees Celsius for forced air incubators and 38.1 to 38.3 degrees Celsius for still air cabinet incubators. As for the turning interval, I set it to 90 minutes, but this is more flexible and consistency is more important than the duration. If you are turning by hand, it could be as long as a couple of hours when turning the eggs only 3 to 5 times per day. If the eggs aren't turned automatically, you should wait until day 4 to start turning them to not jeopardize the development of the embryo. Once everything is set up, it is time to make sure temperature and humidity stay consistent and simply wait about a week. Then, somewhere around day 6 to day 9, you should candle the eggs to remove the ones that haven't developed. If you are unsure about some the first time, you could also candle again a few days later. To do this, I use the flashlight on my phone, but if yours isn't bright enough, there are also dedicated candling flashlights you can buy online. A healthy chick should already fill out a big portion of the egg and veins should be visible. If you're lucky, you can even see the chick moving, which is very special in my opinion. Undeveloped eggs, on the other hand, don't have a dark area where the chick is and you can only see the yolk. Unfortunately, I had some undeveloped eggs due to very tiny cracks in the shell. To avoid that, I should have candled them before incubating as well, and I will definitely do that next time. It could also happen that a chick dies earlier, so any eggs with significantly smaller ones can be removed as well. On day 14 to 15, it is time to prepare for the hatch. Now the eggs need to be taken out of the trays and laid on the ground, where they should hatch, and they don't need to be turned anymore. The humidity should now be higher, at least 75% and up to 90% if it is possible. With my incubator, the chicks usually start hatching at day 17, but it could also be a little earlier with other ones. This is the most interesting time in my opinion, watching all the little ones hatch. This can take 24 to 48 hours, and it is no problem for the chicks to stay in the incubator this long. Most importantly, they should all be dry already before taking them out. By then you should also have a chick coop ready with some paper towel or chick-safe bedding, a running heat source, feed and water. Then you can move all healthy chicks from the incubator to the coop. Sometimes it happens that chicks don't survive the hatch. Unfortunately, one didn't make it from this hatch. I sprayed the remaining eggs for high humidity and left one chick to completely dry before closing the incubator again and letting it run a day more to see if any more chicks would hatch. When a chick is still stuck inside the egg, you could theoretically try to help him out of the egg, let it dry in the incubator and see how it's doing then. Although I do like giving every chick a chance, my experience is that most of the time there's a reason for this happening, like deformed legs for example, and the chick is then unlikely to survive. Once the chicks are in the coop, you can show them their feed and water and make sure they find the heating source. I hope you have a good overview of how incubating quail works, and I wish you a very successful hatch. If you have any questions remaining, please tell me in the comments and I will try to answer them as good as possible. Thanks for watching and bye bye.